How's it going, guys? Universe back again with another video. Today we're going to be flying out the Premium SU-11. Sorry, I don't know why I stuttered. I was like, I forgot the name of it for a moment. But it's the SU-11 in the Russian tech tree. It is a premium at 7.3, and it was on sale recently, but I don't believe the sale is going to be available any longer by the time the video comes out. But if you picked up the SU-11 and you're not really sure how to play it, or you're struggling to play it, this video is pretty much for you. The SU-11 has been overhyped for so long. Yes, granted, the jet is really, really good. It has great performance, but its guns are extremely difficult. Not only are the guns extremely difficult to aim, but they also do very little damage unless you hit the big guns. The 23mm are absolutely awful, and they don't really do a whole lot for you, so you're pretty much limited to around 40 rounds, and that's not enough. Now, granted, you do have, obviously, the flight performance of a jet that should be way higher, and that's pretty much the only thing that's really, really good about the SU-11, is that it'll teach you a lot in terms of dogfighting, energy retention, and just overall, mech. But the minute you come into, having to actually kill somebody, you're just not going to be able to have a great time. We're already in this match here. We got one kill, and I'm already pretty much halfway through my ammo. You have to shoot at around a 0.4 kilometers to around 0.6. Anything below or farther from that, you're going to struggle to hit your shots. Even if at close range, you're still going to struggle to hit your shots. And I still haven't even figured out which rounds to actually use. I was using air target rounds, and those seemed to be alright, but they didn't do great damage. But later on in the video, I do switch to ground targets, and those seem to hit a lot harder. At this point, we're already 3 kills deep, and I'm still absolutely zooming. This is the great thing about the SU-11. It has an absolutely wonderful airframe, and it can maintain a lot of energy, and it's extremely good, and it can dogfight extremely well. But again, the guns are absolutely terrible, and I rammed that guy with 23mm. It did no damage, and unfortunately for me, I only get the assists, and I watch my friendly slam into the ground because he's so bad at the game. And the SU-11 has been regarded as like one of the best premiums in terms of mid BR, in terms of jets. And honestly, I would pretty much agree. This jet is amazing in terms of performance, but other than that, it's a skill fighter. You have to be at a skill gap, above most players to be able to have actual enjoyment with the SU-11. Because there's still a decent amount of jets that can absolutely run you down. The F-86, for example, the F-84 is pretty good. But then there's also a lot of jets that just don't really do too well. The F-2H doesn't really do too well against the SU-11. You pretty much have a lot of weaknesses in terms of mech. That's pretty much it. In terms of, your guns, you don't really have a whole lot going for you because you have to be extremely, extremely patient when using the guns. Because the minute you want to fire those guns off at a really far distance, you are actively dwindling your chances at success. So pretty much the only way you're going to have any type of success in this thing is if you play with complete patience. You cannot just rush into things and expect to get 15 kills and zoom out of the match and you're completely chilling. Everything is controlled. You have to play your environment in a controlled setting. You have to use your advantages from your airframe, your high speed, your good climb rate, and your decent guns if you're able to get your shots on target. And that's pretty much all you have to work with. You can't be an extremely aggressive fighter like the F-80 or the F-86. You are trapped in this controlled environment that you have to play with. And for some players, that may be extremely difficult. And for me, that's kind of difficult because I've been pretty much in hectic environments where I can absolutely just dominate and just zoom around and get many kills. And for the SU-11, this has been a complete 180. And I actually kind of like it. And it's kind of making me a better player in terms of playing differently in different play styles. And this is why I like branching out. Unfortunately for this match, the F-80 is going to run away and run and run and run. He's going to lose all of his fuel, and then I'm going to kill him. And that's the end of the match. And we're on our second match here. We've got a B-29 straight ahead. The great part about this is that I've switched my cannons now to ground targets. And the B-29 is dominated. I'm pretty sure my rounds are the ones that absolutely set him on fire and exploded him out of the air. But I did not get the kill or an assist for it, so it was kind of a waste of ammo, but that's alright. It is not the end of the world. We progress a little bit further here. We spot a Kika, 2 F80s, B29 further down, and then another F80 farther away. At this point, I'm really only focused on the 2 F80s, as both of them are pulling up for my friendly, and none of them are paying attention. I'll take one out, and then I'm able to take the second out, and they've both been absolutely destroyed. Luckily for me, I have maintained most of my speed and my energy, so I'm able to just zoom out of there and continue on doing what I plan to do, which is to get more kills. And the B29 is no different. The B29 is pretty much all by himself and absolutely left defenseless. And I'm kind of glad I took the ground targets, because they absolutely just destroyed that guy and sent him back to the lobby. He exploded. I don't know if I hit one of his bombs or what, but holy moly, he got absolutely destroyed. I know I'm saying absolutely a lot. A lot of people were commenting that in my last video, that I kept saying absolutely, and I apologize. But it's the truth. It's just how it is. Another F80 here as well too. Not paying attention. They usually never are, because it's American players. And I'm able to get a nice shot from distance. And even with that, I'm actually kind of low on ammo, but I've still got 3 kills, and I've still helped my team out tremendously. Extend further on here, and I spot an F2H down below. At this point, I'm at 10,000 feet, and this F2H is pretty much at deck level, but he's already destroyed my SAB, and he's in the dogfight with another friendly. And I'd rather not see my friendly get destroyed, and it wasn't a SAB, by the way. It was an MDA. I'm absolutely brain dead and said a SAB on accident. Sorry about that. But no other, the M262 is not going to be able to fight the F2H, as it's just not that great. The ME262 is absolutely awful. It is not good in terms of any type of performance. Not to mention, it's not good at dodging mountains, as he absolutely gets destroyed and runs straight into the mountain. Why? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Maybe he knocked his pilot out and, clapped himself, and it happens. But this is the great part about the SU-11 having the energy and speed advantage. I just run circles against the F2H, and there is nothing he can do. The game's pretty much over, and we're at 4 kills now. It's basically the B29 left with I show speed. But he's out of the match. And the game's over. And that's 4 kills there again. And on to the final match. This one, in my opinion, is one of my favorite matches. This is why I wanted to make this the last one, because it displays everything perfectly about what you need to do with this jet and how you need to do it and perform it to be doing good. Got a Meteor straight ahead. He is pulling up directly for some friendlies, and he's not paying attention for me. Unfortunately for me, I do not hit the best shot ever, and I only get a decent crit. But an F86 pulls out straight in front of me, and he gets dominated out of the match. I was going to say absolutely there, but at that point I pretty much have said it already 600 times in this video, so there was no point. And unfortunately for me, my friendlies are absolutely greedy, and again, me saying absolutely there, they stole my kill. This is probably one of the worst parts about top tier, is that people just love to steal kills. No matter what happens, you can set someone on fire, absolutely send them away into the lobby, and people will still chase after them. And I understand, and I get it. There's a lot more tension going around due to the RP control and having more RP boosted for the more kills you get. And so that makes sense. But since it's been happening more, I've been also stealing a lot more people's kills. And I will admit that. And honestly, that's partially a reason to blame for why my kills are getting stolen, is that it's just karma. But I don't feel bad. If you're going to steal my kills, I'm going to steal your kills back. This MD here pulls out straight in front of me, but unfortunately, I did not have the best aim, and I absolutely pooped. And I did not hit any good shots. The F86 is just down below, and he's getting destroyed by all my friendlies, and he is extremely slow. I'm going to take advantage of this by pulling up into the vertical, coming straight back down, and using that vertical gain of altitude, and putting it back into speed. Unfortunately, the F86 is so maneuverable that he maneuvers himself back into the ground, and he is now dead. And all of that was for absolutely nothing. But I circle back towards the MD, and he's also extremely slow. I don't like to go into head-ons with the SU-11, but I will fire a couple shots off here or there. And I do get a crit. And the MD's dead, but not until he gets stolen. This SAB has now stolen 2 of my kills in this one match. I don't know about you, but I was absolutely inclined to TKing him as hard as I could, but I also didn't want to waste ammo, and there was still a decent amount of players left. And I was getting into this habit of taking 10 minutes of fuel beforehand in the games before, but I figured that at around 10 minutes of fuel, you'll get around more than halfway through the match, and you'll be really low on fuel, and then you're pretty much forced to head back to airfield. Yes, 10 minutes is pretty much perfect, but I just like having those extra minutes of fuel to be able to just run around, do what I need to, and stay alive. So 20 minutes, it feels absolutely perfect. Head on with the F-84. And I try to go for the merge, but he's not really going for it, and he's going to continue moving straight forward. I'm going for some long-range shots, and honestly, I kind of regret doing this because, again, I've said it, the SU-11 doesn't have a lot of ammo with its really good guns, and so firing off rounds like that are extremely difficult to hit from long range is not really worth it, and that was a mistake on my part. But that is completely fine because I still have 120 rounds of the 23mm. So it's not the end of the world. I'm just going to have to do with the mistakes that I make. The F-84 is obviously much faster than me in a straight line. So there's not a whole lot that I can do other than stay fast and try to keep my altitude high. At this point, the F-84 has no intention of playing against me and is becoming completely passive. I understand there is 2 SU-11s following him and he doesn't want to die. And that makes total sense. At this point, I'm just going to pull vertical, and I'm going to gain as much altitude as possible, because at this point, the only advantage I have against these guys is the altitude advantage. They are next to their airfield, and there's a lot of them, and it's only a couple of us. So the best thing I can do in this case is just to get up high in altitude and try to come down below. I spot an F2H here. It is going extremely slow because it just took off the airfield, but unfortunately for me, he does spot me in time. I go for the rounds, and I absolutely whiff because I'm terrible at the game. Pulled up for the vertical to maintain as much energy as possible, because the minute I go down towards the deck, I start losing pretty much all of my speed super duper fast. So if I do these loops, which is honestly what I'd recommend doing, you can pretty much maintain your speed and energy retention pretty dang well. It's actually kind of scary. The F-84 here is so extremely slow, and I'm still zooming, and I hit him with a nice round of my good guns, and I set him up for absolute failure. But again, me saying it here, the 23mm are not good at all, and you honestly would probably have a better time with pea shooter guns from a World War I plane, because the 23mm are not good. Luckily for me, I get a pilot snipe there and I take him out, and I've kept my speed pretty well that the F-2H2 cannot keep up with me in a straight line. At this point, I'm going to continue extending, because I'm going to use my SU-11's advantage here, which is the speed, and just maintain speed and climbing ability. And luckily for me, he does retreat back to his base, and this is exactly why I chose to pick extra fuel, because in this exact moment here, I still have a chance to win this match, and I don't have to RTB. I can still just use the 23mm. I'm going to climb up as high as I can, and I'm going to come back down as they take off. And this is a perfect example of it. The F-84 here is not doing a whole lot of paying attention, but he has eventually spotted me, and I'm still zooming. I get a nice hit, and I set him on fire, and at that point, the F-84 is out of the match. I'm going to pull back up, get as much altitude as I can, that way I can convert it back to speed as I dump my nose back down, because I really want to commit on this F-84, because at this point, I have no idea where the F-2H2 is, and I'm not really too worried about him. Fortunately for me, he did climb up, and I made a huge mistake, and the F-82 is now above me and has the altitude advantage, and most likely the energy advantage as well too at this point. But he becomes extremely aggressive and starts going for the dogfight, and then realizes that he wasn't going to win it, so he extends away, and then returns into me, decides to disengage and go in a head-on, and he dies and he's out of the match. The last player is dead. That is virtually it. This plane has been overhyped for way too long, but yes, it is a good jet, and I'd recommend buying it. And if you already have bought it, I wish you the best of luck playing this thing, because it's really fun, and you'll learn a lot. Peace.